Hola, bienvenidos a los verbos de cambio radical. Today we will be talking about stem-changing verbs. Make sure you have the notes handout printed so you can complete it as we go along. Before we talk about stem-changing verbs, let's take a minute to review los verbos regulares, or regular verbs. Let's start with our AR verbs, los verbos AR. When you have a verb like hablar, you conjugate it yo hablo, tú hablas, usted, él, ella habla, nosotros hablamos, vosotros habláis, ustedes, ellos, ellas hablan. Moving on to los verbos AR, we have a verb like comer, and that is conjugated yo como, tú comes, usted, él, ella come, nosotros comemos, vosotros coméis, ustedes, ellos, ellas comen. And lastly, we have los verbos IR, like escribir. Yo escribo, tú escribes, usted, él, ella escribe, nosotros escribimos, vosotros escribís, ustedes, ellos, ellas escriben. Now, the reason we are all here, los verbos de cambio radical. Stem-changing verbs can also be referred to as boot verbs. Why, do you ask? Well, let's find out. When we take a verb like almorzar and try to conjugate it, we have to remember that it is an irregular verb. So, we first take the infinitive almorzar, and then what we do is we cut off the infinitive ending AR. Now we are left with the stem, almorz, but cuidado, almorzar is a stem changer, so the O changes to UE. That makes the stem become almuerz. But señora, you still haven't told us why these verbs are called boot verbs. All right, here it goes. When we conjugate almorzar with this stem change, we say yo almuerzo, tú almuerzas, usted, él, ella almuerza. But notice when we get to nosotros and vosotros, they're outside of this boot. Do you have any idea what's going to happen with nosotros and vosotros? Will it stem change? Will it stay the same? If you said it stays the same, you are correct. Since nosotros and vosotros are outside the boot, they will not stem change. So that makes nosotros almorzamos and vosotros almorzáis. But then we see that ustedes, ellos, and ellas is back inside the boot. So we need that stem change again. So ustedes, ellos, and ellas becomes almuerzan. Have you seen any other verbs before that stem change? Yes, you have. The verb jugar is a stem changing verb. It changes U to UE. Also, the verb querer is a stem-changing verb, and it changes E to IE. All right, let's see what you can do. Using your handout, try to conjugate these E to IE stem-changing verbs. Ojo, don't forget to pay attention to the infinitive endings. The verb endings will stay the same as regular verbs. Make sure you pause the video until you have completed the chart. When you're done, hit play to see how well you did. Did you get them all correct? Pay attention to the nosotros form. Remember, it is outside the boot, so it will not stem change. Let's try again, but this time with O to UE stem changing verbs. Ojo! Don't forget to pay attention to the infinitive endings. Pause the video until you have completed the chart. When you're done, hit play to see how well you did. All right, let's put these verbs to work and use them in some sentences. On your handout, translate the following sentences from English to Spanish. Pause the video until you are done, and then check your answers. Número 1. She understands the recipe. Ella entiende la receta. Número 2. They start the dinner early. Ellos empiezan la cena temprano. Número 3. You, informal, can write well. Tú puedes escribir bien. Número 4. The students and I return to Spanish class. Los estudiantes y yo volvemos a la clase de español. Y número 5. I eat lunch at 12:15 on Saturdays. Yo almuerzo a las 12:15 los sábados. How well did you do? Did you get them all correct? Now, just for fun, take a minute to watch these videos about stem changing verbs. Well, that's enough fun for now. ¿Hay preguntas? Do you understand how stem changing verbs work? If you have any questions, make sure you jot them down and ask me or your classmates. That's all for today. Hasta pronto!